So Frank Turner is one. I mean, he's an artist that I've been a fan of. I don't know, probably since 2007, 2008, maybe. I think probably around that time. And I tried to sign him in 2009 because,
Really?
yeah,
You heard it first on
yeah.
TV
Well,
News.
Polar Bear Club was on tour with him, and they were both on like support slots in England, and so I think we were either in Frank Turner's van or he was in Polar Bear Club's van. I can't remember, but I was basically just I mean we were just talking about Sick of It All, nerding out about music, and we just asked if he'd be down to do a record on Bridge Nine because I know he has his label in England, but like we'd be down to license it and do something in North America or in the US. And we talked about it for a little bit after that, but of course he had a really incredible opportunity with Epitaph. So I was there was no hurt feelings over that, but I was just always a huge fan. I mean, and a lot of bands, like when you're a label and sometimes it's hard, if something doesn't work out, but man, I just every time he came to Boston, I would go. And um in 2009, that summer, I think it was a few months after I had talked to him in England. He was playing Fitchburg, in Massachusetts, and was supporting the Offspring. And our friend Matt Pike, who's a booking agent and lived in Beverly at the time, offered to pick him up and drive him back to his place. Frank and a couple of people that were going to stay at the Pike's house that night. So when he picked him up, he asked Frank if he would be down to maybe do another set, but like play for his friends, right? So Matt hit me up. Basically, everyone from the Bridge Nine camp, from the Death Wish camp, three of the guys from Converge. There's probably about 20 of us and like our significant others at Pike's house when Frank showed up with Matt, just waiting. In fact, there was a kid, this guy Chris, that I've become friends with since, that just randomly answered an ad on Twitter. Basically, like I don't know if it was Frank or somebody was like, "Hey, if you want to see Frank Turner in Beverly, come to this
Wow.
address." And
Wow.
he was the only one
He
that
was
showed
the
up.
only one.
And it's funny
Imagine
because
doing that today. Imagine putting that
I
out there today. Like, you
Oh,
oh,
get,
and it's funny because his girlfriend at the time, I think his wife, was like, "You're gonna die. Like you're just gonna show up at somebody's house." And he
times
did,
have
and
changed.
he has lifelong friends because of it. Like he showed up. Frank was down to perform. I don't remember how many songs he did, maybe 8 or so. But it was the most intimate of experiences. It was basically in Pike's backyard. I think it was like a garage that they had converted into kind of like a hangout space, and he performed in front of everybody. And I had brought a digital video camera with me just to try and not even to like do it. I mean, I filmed parts of his set, but not everything. And in hindsight, I was bummed because like I was turning it off in between, during songs. And I think we had I think the four that we pressed were like the four songs that I fully had from start to finish. So, all those, I think I had two tapes from that show. They just ended up in a shoebox or in a file cabinet for 12 years, I think. And it's one of those things, as a label and as the person that kind of has you kind of create an archive and you hold on to things. I've never had to really throw a lot of things out. I've kept so many
Yeah.
things from over the years, thankfully. And so stuff like that, it just gets shoved away until you have to do something like move and then go through everything and get organized. And when I was trying to figure out how to handle moving, because it was sudden, it was also during the beginning of COVID, and um, you know, everything business wise was kind of upside down a little bit. So I came up with the idea of doing what I called the Raid the Archive mystery box. And it was, we had done mystery boxes in the past that were very successful. I mean, who can resist the mystery box?
right? You
People,
have no idea. It's like
yeah,
it's
people,
Christmas.
I'm a
yeah,
satisfied alumni of that program.
amazing. Well, yeah, people like them. So we're like, all right, let's take it a step further, because we had done these mystery 7 inches over the years, a bunch of them, like 20 of them. So I said, let's press like 5 records, things that have never been on vinyl, and some things that are completely from the archive, like the the Crown and Stereo BBC session. We had 4 songs that they recorded, and I think it was 2008 or 9 that had never been released anywhere. So we're like, all right, let's press that on 7-inch. Let's do the Terror live in Japan. I think Trustkill had tacked some of those songs on a CD, at one point, but it had never been released as its own 12-inch. And I had photos from that tour. It's like, let's make something cool out of it and kind of celebrate it as its own separate thing. And with Frank, I went ahead and took the 4 songs, had them mastered and sequenced, and sent them to him, and basically told him what was going on. Said, we're moving, we're building this new, warehouse and record store, and we're pulling these records together to help us kind of fundraise for it, because again, it was sudden, it was very expensive, and it was a way where the artists could help support us, but then also customers and fans and people that are into the stuff that we've done. It's like an easy thing. It's like, all right, for $50 or $55, you get 5 records. And my feeling was, these are going to resonate with people that are into that like 2003 to 2009 period. Frank was kind of the outlier because he had never been on the label, and it was a little bit of a different kind of sound than the rest of the records that were in the package. But that was probably my favorite one, because first off, he was like, yeah, sure, let's go for it. We ended up pressing, I think, 200 copies for him to take on tour. So, he got something out of it, but he was just like, yeah, go for it. And he could have said no for like any number of legitimate reasons. He had a new album coming out right around the same time, all these other things, but he heard me out and was like, yeah, do it. Let's let's go for it. That show, and I know it's an official show on his show discography.
Oh, yeah.
Is it really?
It is, yeah.
He counts them all, man. He counts them all.
Every penny counts. Yeah.
That was show number 662, and it was completely spontaneous. I don't think he knew what he was walking into. And a little fun fact about that show was Converge is one of his favorite bands. I think he's gone on record a couple times as saying that's his, he celebrates the whole catalog. And when he walked in and saw 3 members of Converge there in the audience, I guess he fanboyed. In fact, there's a photograph that we just put on our discography. So I've been going through and adding content and photos and flyers and ads and stuff related to every record that I can into our discography. And I've kind of filled out the Frank Turner Beverly page with 20 or so photos taken that night of everyone that was there, him performing. But there's a picture of him, I guess, that was taken by this guy, Evan, who was on the tour with him right when he saw the members of Converge. And he's got like this, face.
Yeah.
So it's cool.
That's wild. I mean, so you just said so many things that I'm like, I have a question about that. And I have a question about that.
So many. Yeah.
He is so approachable though. Like when we were kind of early on in this, probably just over a year, like, let's hit him up because we all liked him. We never thought he'd say yes. And then we got an email back saying, yeah, what do you want to talk about? And it's just like, and I've emailed him since. He played Portland last summer, right around now. And I took a bunch of videos, sent them to him, and he was like, those are amazing. Thank you for sending them. Like, he's just that guy, so I'm not surprised he said yes to playing in the backyard. And then I can totally see him getting excited about seeing members of a band that he loves. Because that's exactly what I would do. I'd be like, holy shit, you guys are here? Like, yeah, all right, I guess I'll play in a show for you. That's wild.
Yeah,
the whole thing
I'm sure,
is just crazy.
I'm sure he's played lots of random intimate shows in his time. That one though was special. It was really special for me. It was special for really all the people that were there. And when, for him to do that in a lot of ways was the inspiration for what we're trying to do now with our warehouse. Because we want to create intimate personal experiences for people to that are fans of the label, that are supportive of the record store. They're gonna, bands are gonna go play in front of 1,000 people in Boston. But if we can do something, on a smaller scale and more intimate here, then like with Newfound Glory, for example, multiple people were saying that having seen them for 2 decades, that was their favorite time because it was 100 people watching them, or 130 or so people, and they were signing autographs and taking selfies with fans after they played. So like it was this moment that I think hopefully all those people are going to be like, oh my God, like that was such a cool thing. And the roots of that were with Frank taking the time to do that in the backyard in Beverly. And then for the rest of that record, so the cover of the 7-inch is a painting of Matt Pike's house. So that's the house that he played at.
Oh, that's cool.
And my dad actually painted
That's awesome.
it. My dad's like
wow.
That's amazing.
Paints landscapes and barns and old barns and like kind of like, these landscape paintings. And I was like, this isn't my first chance to do something with my dad involved, who he had never, he's been very supportive of what I do with Bridge 9, but had never really had a direct connection to it outside of me. So that was kind of a cool opportunity.
That's awesome. And I mean, to make that, the whole thing is like bits and pieces have to happen correctly for it to even exist. And they all did. And so like what you have the camcorder, you're like, I'm just going to record some of this. And
yeah,
it's wild.
I think for whatever reason, at that time, I probably recorded a bunch of random shit. I was with Sully's, I'd be filming things down at Fenway Park, like around the stadium, or I'd be at a show and film random things. And so I've got all these random tapes. And that one, I had exported the files onto my computer back then. So I had these, I had the tapes, but I also had these, high resolution files, and was able to, we're lucky to do it. I mean, something could have happened to the files. They could have, a hard drive could have died. The tapes could have been bad. Frank could have, again, for any number of reasons, could have said, no, I like the idea, but I got too many things going on. But, for whatever number of reasons, it came together and we were able to put it out there.
You just gave us the ultimate excuse to continue to collect literally everything, which we've been doing.
We
for
do.
course of 30 years now.
And my wife
Yeah.
does not appreciate it.
Yeah.
But,
that and ask everybody, hey, you want to talk?
yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Twine.
but again, going back to Frank, I don't know how he does it. I feel like he's this generation's Ian MacKaye, where he is responsive. He, if I see that all the time, people say that just random fans reach out to him and he engages with them in a way that is admirable. And I want to know how he does it, because like I have trouble keeping up with things, and I want, like, I know that it's possible to respond to people because he's doing it. So I don't know what the secret is, but Frank,
I don't know. He must have a social media team. No, he doesn't. But it's like Gary V, the social media guy. He's like, I respond to everything. It's like, no, you don't. You have a team. You're full of shit.
Right.
Frank, I believe it.
It's
and
him.
and I think Tone, he asked, he's like, can I post this? It's like, so it's a cool way to get back as the artist.
And that was after they've just flew to America for the first time since the pandemic kind of started to soften. Played a show in Portsmouth, New Hampshire during the day, drove to Portland, Maine, played a show that night, which we were at. I'm sure jet lagged as shit, and then answered my email the next day. It's like, holy shit, like wild.
That 50 shows in 50 days was wild. I went to the Portsmouth show and then the Boston show. But yeah, that was crazy.
Awesome stuff. Yeah. We could talk Frank all night too. All right, Nate, Twan, give us the next one.